In the Romantic period, the focus on harmony became less about smoothness and symmetry and more about emotional expression. Composers wanted to move away from predictable modulations to closely related keys and instead elevate the senses with sudden switches to remote harmonic planes. They of course needed a way of making these extreme tonal shifts work, pivot chords no longer being an option, down to there being so few common notes between distantly related keys. One solution was the pivot note. The target key may now not have chords in common, but composers could use individual notes belonging to both keys to temper the transition. One popular key change adopting this approach is the move to the chromatic mediant key. Each key has a diatonic mediant and submediant chord. These chords share two notes with the tonic chord. If we are to chromatically alter one of these shared notes, we create a chromatic mediant. If we chromatically alter both of the shared notes, we create a doubly chromatic mediant in relation to our established tonic. We can either use the chromatic mediant chord within our established key, or make a full tonal shift, treating the chromatic mediant as the new key centre. Down to regular chromatic mediants necessarily having one note in common with the tonic chord, this tonal shift can be bridged with a pivot note. And for doubly chromatic mediants, even though we don't have a pivot note, the transition can still be smooth, as it can be slipped into by step, down to the altered notes only being a semitone or tone away from the notes of the one chord of the key we're moving from. When researching for the direct modulation section of video 1 in the series, I came across My Heart Will Go On from the movie Titanic. Looking further into it, I became fascinated by how smooth the key change was, so took it upon myself to look into it in more detail in the next video. This is a modulation moving from a bridge in C# minor to an elevated final chorus in F minor. If we respell F minor to E# minor, we can see that this is an example of chromatic mediant modulation. Instead of moving from chord 1 to the chromatic mediant, composer James Horner moves from chord 5. And this is the key to why this key change is both so smooth and so dramatic. By using the 5 chord, not only does he deceive the listener by depriving them of chord 1 in the established key, but he actually smooths out the transition by giving us 2 pivot notes. The initial note in common with both the new and the established tonic triad, and the raised leading note B#. These can now both be respelled as the 3rd and 5th of the new tonic. Enharmonic respelling is a commonly used method to transition to distantly related keys. Diminished 7th chords are one of the most flexible modulatory tools, as they can be respelled into 3 different other versions of themselves. Down to its symmetrical nature, each note of any diminished 7th chord can be treated as the root, leading us to any of 3 additional, sometimes distantly related keys within one chord change. Here, I can resolve to any major or minor keys centered on C, E flat, G flat, and A. As well as this, dominant 7th chords can be respelled as augmented 6th chords, again potentially leading us to distant keys in just one move. Here is a chorale example where we respell our 5/7 chord into a German 6th, allowing us to move from C major to very distantly related B major in one move. You'll note that the new tonic arrives on the last accented beat of the phrase, one way of making sure that our ear hears a fully established change of key and not just a temporary modulation. We'll look into the many ways of cementing full key changes in the next part of the series. Join me.